Yes! Oh! Yes! 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 Oh! Oh! Oh!
This iconic scene from When Harry Met Sally works so well for a number of obvious reasons. The performances, the dialogue, the direction. What's just as important as those elements, but is often overlooked, is the choice of setting. In this case, a diner. Take this same scene, for example. How would it play out differently if it were set in a private home? Immediately, you would lose the comedic effect that comes from the awkwardness brought about by the surrounding people. What about a library? It's not as interesting to take an already quiet setting and have the surrounding people remain quiet. It's much more interesting to take the noisy location of a diner and slowly reduce it to an awkward, quiet space as a direct result of the actions that played out in the scene. What about a park? Again, it's a public location, but the space is too large. People can easily dismiss the characters' actions by simply walking past them, as opposed to a diner where people are confined to a smaller, cramped location and fixed to their tables. Choosing the right setting can help elevate a scene, and that's because setting helps inform the larger story, its themes, and the characters that inhabit the world.
Large Marge sent me.
So, how have diners been utilized throughout film history? Diners perfectly cater to conversations. Characters are confined to a close, intimate space at their table. They're forced to interact with each other, whether they want to or not. It's a semi-private, semi-public space where the threat of exposure is always looming. And it's in these confined spaces that the characters can talk about anything. These conversations can highlight relationships, boyfriend and girlfriend, father and son, friendships. But conversations are also an effective way to help support the overall story, as they allow the writers to provide expositional information or to move the story forward by sharing vital plot information. Not all conversations are alike, though. Because diners are often depicted as a quiet, peaceful, small-town setting, certain conversations can serve as comical juxtaposition that helps reinforce the larger tone of the story due to their intense and dark subject matter. Usually, this is played out by criminals conversing over their breakfast and cups of coffee. These topics can include everything from ordinary life, like tipping in Reservoir Dogs, and the cleanliness of animals in Pulp Fiction, criminal life in Goodfellas and Heat, to the logic of time travel in Looper.
Doesn't matter!
Besides simple conversations, this intense juxtaposition can also be reinforced through fight scenes, like in the films A History of Violence, The Equalizer, Triple X, and Universal Soldier. But it can also be reinforced by robberies, attempted murders, and suicides. One of my favorite films from this past year, You Were Never Really Here, encapsulates this tone perfectly. This idyllic diner setting, full of bright lights, smiling faces, and a table covered in empty milkshake glasses, is suddenly tainted with a smattering of blood. It's jarring, which is exactly the point. It tells us so much about the tone of this world and gives us more insight into Joaquin Phoenix's complicated character. Diners have always been used to help give insight on the characters in the story, and it's because of the actions that they make.
Toss some salt over your right shoulder.
The old adage is true. Actions speak louder than words. In a visual medium like film, the best way to quickly understand the mind of a character is to put them in a setting where they have to act. And a diner is a perfect setting that allows characters to be put in a number of situations.
Boom! You never know, that's the point. Go.
How do they eat their food? Are they a messy eater or are they neat?
Another!
Do they play with their food? What kind of food do they order? Do they order a lot? Or maybe they skip food altogether and just drink
Coffee?
Yeah. Coffee, yeah.
Do they smoke cigarettes? What kind of music do they play on the jukebox? These types of subtle actions add up to breathe life into a fully formed character. Diners also force characters into social interactions. It allows us to see how they treat other people. How do they speak to their friends, co-workers, strangers? How do they treat the waiter that comes to their table?
Garçon, coffee!
Are they polite?
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Are they shy? Are they condescending?
Jack, do you hear the specials?
Sure,
You're not gonna eat it.
but they work so hard to memorize them.
Are they confrontational?
You see this sign?
Each action they make and word they speak sheds light onto the character's disposition. The simple act of walking into a diner says a lot about a character too. Diners are often used to depict a suburban, middle American environment. It's a place for all types of people from all walks of life to come together. But in film, it's usually comprised of blue-collar, low to middle-class patrons. Placing a character in this environment speaks to their mindset.
Kick his ass, Seabass!
Maybe they're a casual, easygoing person, or maybe they prefer the comfort found in the kitschy aesthetic of a diner. Take the film Baby Driver, for example. It's no coincidence that Baby finds refuge from his crime-infested life in a diner. It symbolizes the boy he used to be when he was with his now-deceased mother, and it also symbolizes the man he strives to be with the woman he now loves. It makes the story all the more suspenseful when his crime life eventually bleeds into his refuge near the end of the film. Perhaps the most obvious way diners have been utilized in film history is as a signifier of a specific time period. Paper Moon uses a diner to depict the Depression era, while in films like Giant and Mississippi Burning, the diner is used as a backdrop to highlight the civil rights movement of the 50s and 60s. An easy way to signify the lifestyle of high school students coming of age in the 1950s is with the diner setting, as that was the decade during the diner's peak popularity in America. This is showcased in films like Grease, The Last Picture Show, Back to the Future, and, of course, Diner. In the ever-evolving cultural landscape of society, the diner's appearance has remained virtually unchanged for almost 100 years. They're timeless, a home away from home, and a unique setting for some of film's finest moments.
I'll have what she's having.
I love diners and cafes. They've become a second office for me where I do a lot of my work, including working on these video essays. But sharing public Wi-Fi always terrifies me, because I know that the moment I join a shared network, my devices are vulnerable to hacking. I've even had a few hacking scares myself in the past, which is why I'm so excited that NordVPN is sponsoring this video. Now, if you're like me and you care a lot about your privacy and security online, then you should absolutely be using a VPN, or a virtual private network. It helps keep your data safe by allowing you to connect to networks all over the world remotely. That way, prying eyes can't see your IP address and all your private information. If you're joining public Wi-Fi at diners, cafes, airports, school, and basically any shared network, using a VPN will help keep you and your information safe. And NordVPN is by far the best out there. Right now, NordVPN is giving my viewers 75% off a 3-year plan, which comes to about $2.99 a month, by going to nordvpn.com/theelk. My viewers will even get 1 extra month for free by using my code THEELK at their checkout. Not only does NordVPN have military-grade encryption and thousands of servers in over 61 countries, you can also run it simultaneously on up to 6 devices, which means you can run it on your desktop, laptop, cell phone, and share it with your other family members to make sure that their devices are protected too. Again, head on over to nordvpn.com/theelk to get 75% off a 3-year plan. And be sure to use my code THEELK at checkout in order to get a bonus month for free. Thanks everyone, I'll see you all next time.